Hey everybody, Dr. Nicholas Thomas here, recording live at the corner of State and Jackson, downtown Chicago. It's the Hospitality Spirit. Wow, I am absolutely excited. I'm joined by a very good friend, Reggie Martin, all the way in from Macau. Reggie is the Associate Director of VIP and Celebrity Relations at for Las Vegas Sands in Macau. But you're a local guy.
Yes, originally from East Chicago.
Yeah. So It's you come back to Chicago every couple times a year?
Yeah, I come back. You know, family is very important, so I have to come back and hang out and spend time with family and friends.
Yeah. So when I saw that you were coming back to Chicago, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to have you on the Hospitality Spirit. But full disclosure, from a Macau time perspective, it's early morning in Macau. It's 9 p.m. here in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
So most times when we record this, it's early in the morning. So
early morning, right? And I'm fighting jet lag as we speak right now.
And I'm the opposite. I've had about 6 espressos, so this will probably be the fastest I've talked.
Oh.
I just finished teaching and to try to stay awake.
Trying to stay awake. Oh,
so,
we're gonna have fun.
So this is gonna be a fun podcast. You're on jet lag. I'm about 9 espressos in. It's 9 p.m. at night. Jamie just finished, podcast extraordinaire, has just finished his classes for the night. So this is either going to be a complete disaster. It's going to be the greatest podcast we've ever done.
Okay,
so,
let's do it.
But I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here because, you know, the story about how you and I met, which we'll kind of talk about in a second, was completely random and by chance. But, you know, I think I'm absolutely blessed that we've met because it's from a hospitality perspective. I've loved following your career, and it's such an amazing story. And I hope we can, over our time together tonight, I hope we can kind of get into it because I think it's an amazing story about someone that's had some great experiences, has really seen the world, experienced a lot of things.
Yes.
But from a leadership and mentor perspective, I think there's so much that students and listeners to this can really get.
Yes.
Why don't I think we got to start by just kind of telling the story about how you and I met. So,
we on Cathay Pacific.
We were on Cathay Pacific. So we do a study abroad here in the School of Hospitality Leadership, where we take students over to Hong Kong. We spend a couple of days in Hong Kong. Then we go down to Macau, where you're currently living. Then we go down to Singapore. Late night flight. It's like a 13-and-a-half-hour, 14-hour flight direct from Chicago to Hong Kong.
Long flight.
It's a long flight. Man, it's a long flight. Great service on Cathay Pacific. Absolutely love it. But it's one of those things where, you know, you get up over Alaska and then you start to kind of head south and you kind of got to get up and stretch your legs.
Get up, stretch.
You know, and if I remember correctly, you're not a good. You hate flying.
I hate flying. I've been on the plane a million times and still never got used to it.
So, and it's one of these long planes, and we're in like row 60 or 70, all the way in the back. So I kind of get up and stretch my legs, and back in the back galley, I kind of get up and I'm stretching my legs, and I get back, and you're standing there.
I'm back there with the ladies. I'm with the stewardess. I'm with the stewardess.
And you and I just kind of like strike up a conversation, and it's late. It's probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and we're just kind of talking. You know, who are you? What do you do? I'm Nick. I'm Reggie. You know, and you're from Chicago. No, I live in Macau, and I kind of tell you that we've got the students coming. And we just strike up this great conversation. And I say, I'm bringing the students over. We're going to be down in Macau. And long story short, we ended up bringing our students by the Venetian. And you give us a great tour. And it was just a wonderful experience. And then in subsequent years, when we bring our students back, we would bring them by the Venetian. And you would, your great hospitality. And we've just kind of stayed in touch since. But we just happened to get up at the exact same time on this 13-and-a-half-hour flight and strike up a great conversation. And the rest is history.
That's right. And I could not have let people from my hometown come to China and me not, you know, have anything to do with you guys. So it was a blessing also to me to have you guys there and to take you around the property and just have a great time.
So how does somebody from the Chicagoland area, so East Chicago, Indiana area.
Yes.
So how does somebody walk us through kind of briefly the history? You went to Winona State.
You know, I went to East Chicago Central.
Okay.
At high school.
Okay.
Played basketball there. earned a scholarship
Okay.
to go play at Winona State, which is a Division II school in Winona, Minnesota.
Okay.
And just like any teenager, you know, going into college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. My parents wanted me to be a teacher because that was a for sure job.
Sure.
And I realized sophomore year in college, that was not really for me.
Okay.
And I found my calling in recreational management.
Yeah.
And from there, it just took off. You know, my professor and Coach Grove at Winona State, he had some great recreational classes, and I realized I didn't want to be trapped in an office, 24/7. In my working career, I'm a person that needs to be outside. I hate paperwork, so it just worked out that I joined Club Med right out of college. I never worked in our beautiful country, so I went directly to Turkey, and that's all she wrote.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about it, but last week on the podcast, we had an individual who was also an NCAA athlete. She played volleyball at Bradley.
Okay.
And she talked a lot about what it was like to be an NCAA athlete and balance going to school and playing a sport in college, and the soft skills and the leadership skills and the work-life balance and why those skills were so important and how it translated then into after college.
Absolutely.
What kind of did that do for you? I mean,
Absolutely.
Do you kind of agree with that? What was it like to be an athlete and going to school as well in terms of
being an athlete, baseball player and a basketball player? It teaches you a lot about life. Teach you about how to manage your time. It teaches you about how to deal with different personalities. So all of these things you're learning as you go playing team sports. So playing in college was almost like working in the corporate world. If you don't go to school, you don't get that money to pay for your scholarship. You understand? So you really have to understand that, okay, school is first. You're a student athlete. So you have to put that time in, but you have to balance your time because basketball players, we had to get up early in the morning, work out, go to study hall, work out, go to class, either have a game or have practice later on that night. You eat, then you have to get your sleep again. Yeah. So it keeps you busy, but it gets you ready for your working career once you're done with being a student athlete.
See, and it's interesting. I have a hypothesis that she brought up last week, and maybe you could affirm this or disagree with it. How much did traveling I'm assuming you were on the road playing away games. I mean, did that spark a hospitality bug in you at all? I mean,
great question. This role, what I'm doing right now, is my parents, not knowingly, had me ready for traveling. They put me, I started going to basketball camp when I was 10 years old.
Got it.
Okay, so I was living on college campuses 1 week each summer.
Gotcha.
With no TV. So doing basketball camp at 10 years old, we had to go to sleep. You get up and eat breakfast. You do your drills. You eat lunch. You do your drills. Back to sleep. This was at 10 years old. By the time I was 12 years old, they put me on a plane by myself to go to a basketball camp at the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, gotcha.
So, they started this, me traveling at a young age by myself, being independent. Once I got to Tulsa, Oklahoma, your parents say you only go to the person, you don't speak to nobody else, you only go to the person that have your name on that sign. If you don't see your name on that sign, you find the first police officer or whatever, and you stay next to him till that person comes.
Gotcha. So probably did. I mean, I think I'm always interested to hear what it was and when it kind of the switch flipped in somebody's mind that hospitality was for them, because for some people it doesn't it doesn't occur to them until their junior, senior year of college. But, for me, I was in my middle teens.
Yes.
For people. It sounds like for you, possibly at a younger age, but at Winona State, the rec studies or the recreational studies for you, and then it sounds like the bug really hit with Club Med, but then it was something also the going abroad, and maybe let's go that direction a little bit because you went right to Turkey from Minnesota.
Club Med really was not the first to get that traveling bug inside of me. I would say my circle of friends in university was summer break, spring break.
Gotcha. Okay, like study abroad and spring. Oh, like
spring break.
Oh, just social. Okay.
The social. They would go to South Padre Islands or Cancun and all these wonderful places.
Okay.
And I would go with them. And I'm like, wow, this is, it's so much more to this world than the Midwest.
Okay.
So that's when the bug actually started. Now, I had a couple friends that was playing professional basketball overseas. I was very intrigued with them living a life overseas and playing basketball. So I was very interested in that. And then I had a friend that was actually playing professional ball in Turkey, which is Rashard Griffin, who was actually from Chicago.
What was it? Because I was having a conversation with someone, and we've talked about it on the podcast a couple times about this increased desire for students wanting to study abroad, travel abroad. What was it about living abroad? Was it? Can you think
the different culture, being around different cultures, different races, different languages, different food.
Because you have fully embraced living abroad.
I embraced it.
It is you living in China. You've gone all in.
I went all in. It was to those who's listening. I'm Black Americans. It was no Black Americans over there.
Yeah.
So you have to be all in, or you're gonna have a culture shock. But I embraced it. You have to embrace the culture, embrace the people, and just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
For those who wants to go over there, I think that's the same thing they're chasing, to see how other people live on different sides of the world. But it's tough also because you're away from your normal life being an American. You're away for, probably going to a basketball game or baseball game or going camping or doing something you can do in America, which they might not have that in other countries.
You talked about some of the benefits of choosing an organization that made going abroad easier. I think, if I remember correctly in a previous conversation we had, that Club Med had a policy where it would kind of move you around every 6 months.
At that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, did that help the kind of acclimatizing to the different cultures a little bit? I mean, what was it?
Well, Club Med was really help about that because you work with so many different people in Club Med. So I was working with Japanese, with French and Italians, and all these amazing people from all over the world that normally I probably wouldn't have had a chance to meet if I just would have stayed in Chicago. So, Club Med was great for, introducing me to different, other cultures and people I'm just close to and seeing every single day. And you're learning different things about these people that's different from your life. And it was just intriguing.
So what else did you kind of take away? I mean, it seems like also a big part of knowing you for so long, there was the aspect of operations. I mean, the day-to-day operations of working in hospitality, but that you kind of mastered, but you mastered it very quickly. But knowing you for so long, with you, it seems like relationships was important.
Relationships,
and that to me is the cornerstone of when I think of Reggie Martin. I think of why relationships are so important. And when people talk about hospitality, they say networking. It's about who you know and how you foster those relationships and how you build those relationships and lifelong learning. And I mean,
I've always been a people's person. And I was just blessed with the gift of gab.
And that's something that I would imagine for you, at least, no matter where your job took you in the world, be it Turkey, and in this case, Macau, China, it's universal.
It is universal. I'm dealing with people that never talk to a foreigner in their life.
Wow.
I'm dealing with people that the only time they see black people is on TV, and they not showing black people in good, educated black people on TV.
Yeah.
So they first time looking at black Americans, they thinking of us as being gangsters or drug dealers or whatever. So they meet me, and I'm teaching them, no, we are educated, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're presidents of multi-million-dollar corporations around the world.
We're president of the United States.
We're president of the United States.
Yeah.
So I got a partner who's a writer. He has his book. I got Kanye Confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So we got writers. We got everything as Black Americans. And it's important for me. I enjoy being overseas to show this different side to people that they was not educated about before.
Did you seek that? Did you seek that role out, or is that something that just kind of naturally happened over time?
I seek that role out. I think it was very important to show overseas what Black Americans, represent. This was bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm representing Black Americans, African Americans, whatever whatever we say.
Mm-hmm.
But that was very important to me, how I carry myself overseas and represent my people overseas, and showing them it's not what you're seeing on TV.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people would come back and say this to me, like, "Oh, I thought blacks was this and this," and then they found out I don't even drink, or I never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Yeah.
So it's surprising to them.
It's interesting because it's one of the things that the study abroad, when we took the study abroad students there to Macau, that they were also most shocked by. It wasn't just, to your point, they would come up and take pictures with the white students as well.
Right.
It's such a homogenous society that some of them, they were just shocked by it.
Right.
So I can imagine that it's probably just an almost daily occurrence for you that you just have to deal with, and you're going all over China.
Oh yeah, all over.
Yeah,
all over. Not just China. It was that happened in Turkey and and Bali. All these places that they're used to. A lot of these places is used to seeing white people are walking around, but they're not used to seeing blacks.
Yeah.
Because we just don't travel.
So
that much.
How do you then? The economies of scale of that. How do you continue to kind of plant the seeds of that and then spread that? It's just you. China's 1.8 billion people. You're only one person. You've got to have this mentorship role for future to pass that torch on at some point.
It's starting to get more and more. Thank God Stefan Marbury is there now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably the first foreigner in the history of China, and he's black, to have two statues of himself in Beijing, China, which is huge. Not only for him, but I thought that was huge. I tell him all the time, just for Black Americans, period. He's decided to live in China for the rest of his life, which I think is cool. And he embraced China, and the Chinese people embraced him. So, seeing people like Stefan Marbury, who has a huge platform, telling people, hey, come to China, come and visit. And me and all these other people that's coming through there, superstars and all that, LeBron James on his Nike tour, they all going back and telling people, hey, China, is a great place you should go see.
Sure. One of the things that I always like to talk about on this show, because it's been so impactful for me, is this idea of mentorship.
Yes.
And leadership. What kind of role has that played in your life as a mentor, or being mentored by somebody, being a mentee or being a mentor, either now or in the past?
I enjoy mentoring. people. I do it on a daily basis.
Is it face to face, or is it something constantly in China, or is it something that's done remotely?
I do
since
it
you live in China?
worldwide. Obviously, a lot of Chinese come to me in China, but I do it worldwide. From Chicago, people reach out to me from Morocco, from South Africa, and I try to touch as many people as possible because it's intriguing to have a Black American that have experienced, flying on private planes, and I'm not a sports player, and I'm not a singer, and I'm doing this as a educated Black figure. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of people do reach out to me to mentor them, and I'm happy to educate them.
Yeah. What about this idea of? I mean, I know there's people that have this strong desire to go into hospitality, but at the end of the day, they're introverts. The idea of going out and networking and being the relationships, it just terrifies them.
To break the ice, that's difficult, though. I think I was born.
So I guess I'm curious where that skill comes from. And when someone comes up and they're seeking mentorship from you, how you coach them and advise them on that.
I think you have to be born with that. It's not easy. It's not easy just to go up and start talking to people and breaking the ice. A lot of people are scared to hear no. That no scares a lot of people, or being rejected in the conversation. I never had that problem of being scared to hear no. If you tell me no, okay, I'll go talk to your friend. Now I'm gonna get your friend and get me. Now I'm gonna make you look silly. So a lot of people are scared to hear no. So when I'm trying to talk to people like that, networking is very, very important. But you have to go and break the ice. Mm-hmm. You have to go. You might get rejected. You might get pushed away by a security guard, but you can't let that stop you. You have to go. Mm-hmm. I go to the NBA All-Star game every year. How do I do that? I met David Stern. When I found out David Stern was coming to Shanghai, China, I made it. I put it in my mind. He is not coming to China without him knowing who Reggie Martin is. You understand? Mm-hmm. So by all means necessary, I need to get to him.
Sure.
So when I seen him, I got on the plane from Macau. I flew all the way to Shanghai. I found out where he was going to be hanging out at. And once I found it out, I went straight to the place. Yeah. He had security guards and everything all around him. I was not going to come this far and let security guards stop me from going to talk to David Stern. Yeah. And I got to him, and that's all she wrote. We are great friends to this day.
Yeah. So when you're living abroad in China, it's important for you to also get involved in to kind of keep this connection with expats as well. So you're very involved in
the expat community.
In the expat community, yes. The American Chamber of Commerce,
vice chair.
Why is it? Explain kind of the role of the expat community for those. So when I think one of the things that kind of when students think about living abroad and going abroad, they're afraid that they're going to completely disconnect from their sense of identity of their home country. But you still have a connection with kind of the people from the U.S. in Macau. I mean, what is that? Talk a little bit about that, if you.
Well, I love my country, and I love my culture, and I love my people. So it's just a natural bond when you go overseas. So if you go overseas, and you tend to try to find out where your people, you can find your people, just to give you some comfort of being, that home feeling when you need it from being in China. And then I noticed it was a lack of that in Macau at the time I was, when I first moved there. So I was trying to figure out what can I do to be that bridge to bring in more of the Americans together for Thanksgiving and Independence Day and things like that. Then I learned about American Chambers of Commerce. Then I joined the American Chambers of Commerce. Then they put me on the board of the American Chambers of Commerce in Hong Kong. And then after I learned everything, I decided with a couple of great guys in Macau, we formed our own chambers of commerce in Macau. And we do things every year to bring the American community together, but also the Canadians and everybody. We welcome everybody. We're not just for the Americans, but if you expat or if you're a local Chinese, we encourage you to come out and celebrate with us.
Yeah, I remember when I lived in Singapore, there was always just something nice about getting involved in that expat community. There was this kind of common bond we all shared that it was nice, and it didn't matter where you were from.
Right.
I kind of still joke that one of the best parties I ever went to was at the Australian expat. It was a barbecue at the Australian and New Zealand embassy, and it was just a hoot.
It's great. It's great networking too. You never know, and somebody might had quit their job or lost their job, and you're at one of these events, and they be like, "Hey, we have a position open. Come see me on Monday." And it's just from being at a barbecue like you was at.
Just being.
So it's really important to get out there and network.
Yeah. What other kind of thoughts do you have for students that are kind of listening to this, that are getting ready to transition into they're sitting listening? I mean, we're getting ready to go into the final academic term of the school year here, and we just finished our big career fair, and they've got potentially job offers getting ready to come in from multiple companies, and they're saying, "Where should I go? What should I do here?
That's a great question. When you 21 years old?
Yeah, about that, probably 21 if they're seniors.
The main thing I tell them, I wish someone had told me, it's scary. It's scary to go out there in the real world.
What sense? What do you mean scary?
You're leaving out the nest. You officially really becoming an adult, and you have to hold your own out there because mommy and daddy might not be there no more. So you really getting out in this cold world. And the first thing I like to tell them is, hey, you got to go through trials and tribulations just like everybody else. Sometimes we get caught up in thinking, why me? Why not you? Everybody has to go through something. Mm-hmm. So you need to meet that trial and tribulation head on, embrace it, learn from your experience of the mistake you made, and get out there and keep fighting. You might apply for 50 jobs. You might get turned down by 50 jobs. This is coming right out of college. You can't let that discourage you because there's other people also getting turned down. But you have to keep striving, and that separates the weak from the strong. With China, when I used to part-time teach in Macau, it's 1.4 billion Chinese people in China. And I tell them, this is scary. You want to know, you say, what's scary about this? It's 4 billion Chinese. This is just in China. It's not 1.4 billion jobs. Mm-hmm. Is that not scary?
Yeah.
It's not 1.4 billion jobs. So what's going to separate you from the rest? You have to find that special skill that's going to separate you from the others. Whether you be a great entrepreneur, corporate person, teacher, whatever, you got to find it. Now, out of one point, let's say university students, you might have, out of 1.4 billion Chinese, you might have 300 million Chinese students going to university. Okay, that's a lot. That's bigger than America. That's the same as America. Mm-hmm. So you got 300 million students. You might have 100 million seniors graduating in China at the same time this year. Yeah. Going back into the work land. Is that not scary?
The economies of scale, whenever I go to China, are just, they're mind-boggling. And we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, just the speed at which it's growing also. It's not just how big it is now, but how big it was 3 years ago. And then you go a year later and you're like, there was nothing here when I was here a year ago, and now there's a 30,000 unit housing complex here. What? this is insane. It's mind-boggling how fast it's growing.
Yeah, but still, the jobs is not.
They're not.
It's not matching up with that. It's so what's going to separate you? Then you might have some and say, "Well, I don't want to work for somebody. I want to be an entrepreneur." Okay, 2 billion people trying to do that same thing. So what's going to separate you from that?
That's a good point.
So it's easier said than done.
Sure.
You understand? So that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary. So I wake up every day. I think I'm blessed to be in my position that I'm doing and able to excel in it to the way I did, because I understand, man, it's so many people in this world that I had to go against, that I had to knock out the box and hold my throne down.
Yeah. And look, but you loved every minute of it.
And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I loved because I embraced my trials and tribulations. I understood I'm going to have to have some downtime. I'm going to have to get. I'm not going to get this job. I applied for the NBA hundreds of times to work, not to play, but to work. When I graduated from college, mm-hmm. I got turned down probably 50, 60 times. Yeah. My beautiful mother, she kept all the rejection letters.
That's right. I remember you.
And she laminated them too. I got all the rejection letters. But the cool thing about the rejection letters, when I'm looking at the rejection letters now, I have some great signatures on the letter. Jerry West turned me down. West Hillfield turned me down. But I kept sending them letters every month. I kept getting rejection. I said, I'm going to make them. I kept receiving rejection letter after rejection letter. But then this is when I also learned you can have more than one dream. People think you're supposed to only have one dream. My other dream was I want to find a job that I can get paid and travel around the world. I don't care too much about the money, because as long as they can pay for me to travel, I'll figure it out along the way. Club Med started off paying me $500 a month.
You say travel around the world, but at the end of the day, I think what I've always respected and enjoyed about you is that East Chicago is still home.
Oh, I come home.
No matter where you are.
East Chicago, I still embrace it. You know what? And a lot of people at home, it's great that a lot of people at home recognize that. They always say, man, you definitely come back home all the time. So they do recognize that. And it's funny because East Chicago, it's nothing glamorous about East Chicago.
No, there isn't. But I always get a kick because I always, like this time of year, I'll always see on Instagram, Reggie's coming home.
Yes.
And I'll see you in Macau, and I'll see you doing a live Instagram during a typhoon, and I'll always kind of get a hoot because you'll be live streaming during a typhoon, and I'll kind of laugh because I'm just waiting for one of the windows to blow out.
Right.
But at the end of the day, in February or March,
I'm home.
You're home.
I'm home. I'm seeing my parents.
And home is always, no matter where you are, you say you want to pay to get travel through the world, but home is always East Chicago.
I come home. Yeah. People get on me all the time. Man, you been everywhere, and you come back to East Chicago. It's nothing like home. It's nothing like home. I enjoy coming home. I enjoy seeing my friends. I enjoy going to see Chicago Bulls play, the Bears. I just enjoy going to the barbershop. Well,
now you're going to see the Blue Demons play.
The Blue Demons.
Now you're going to the brand new Winchester Arena.
Yeah, we're going to the ball game on Tuesday. I can't wait to see. Hopefully you win.
We'll win. Hopefully.
But it's been a great. It's definitely been a great ride.
I got to ask you a final question before we wrap up, because I'm always curious about this. What's kind of you said what keeps you up? What at the end of the day, what's the motivator for you? Is it
the motive
what is the one thing that just drives you, that just keeps you going?
Great question. I have somebody in here that that uses books and YouTube to try to motivate themselves. I motivate myself. Mm-hmm. I learned how to motivate myself. If you tell me I can't do something, that's a great motivation for me, because I need to do it. It's just like slapping you in the face. Yeah. I make people laugh all the time. You can't have success without having haters. Jealousy, that goes neck to neck. I'm the type of dude, I accept all the people I know that's jealous and hater. I like to accept them on my Facebook, because I want to give you some more to be hating me about, because that's motivating me to keep going hard and succeeding. I don't believe in working too hard. I believe in working smart. Mm-hmm. Time and time after again, I like to refer to in basketball how the college NCAA, sometimes Harvard or somebody will knock off a number one team. Mm-hmm. Say Kentucky. I'm just saying Kentucky. Harvard playing Kentucky, and Harvard beat Kentucky. Now, can you imagine what the coach is saying to his players before the game? The Harvard coach, and he's sitting at inside the locker room. He said, "Man, we can't outrun them, we can't outjump them, we can't outdunk them, but we gonna outsmart them."
Yeah,
you get that? Sure. We gonna outsmart them. So it's nothing to do about working hard. We're going to outsmart them. We're going to beat them with the X's and O's. And every year, it's going to even happen this year, it's going to be a 2 and 3 upsets of smaller teams beating that, because they outsmarted the opponent.
There always is.
They didn't outwork them. They outsmarted them.
Well, Reggie, every time you come back, you always inspire me to do something. I mean, every time I hear you talk, I get jazzed up, and I always get excited to go back to Asia and go back to Macau. And
when I'm talking to you, I'm still talking to myself sometimes. I'm talking to myself also. Some of the stuff is going. I'm retelling myself.
You keep me energized to get back in the classroom and inspire the future leaders of this industry.
Oh, you're doing it. You upgraded. Look at where we at now. You went from the pantry to the big office now.
I love what I do. And I think I tell students all the time, I'm blessed to be able to help guide students on their intellectual quest.
Amen.
And I hope that what I've really found is that over the years, students are taking a lot more risks in what they do and where they go, and there's the students now are starting to, hospitality's popping up on students' radar that a couple of years ago it wasn't popping up on their radar.
That's right.
And I'm just kind of waiting for a student to walk in here and say, you know what, I wanted to be a aeronautical engineer, and now all of a sudden I want to go work in Macau in the casino industry.
That's right.
Because it's just...
They did not know that hospitality can take you around the world.
It can take you around the world. It was a great industry to me. It's been a great industry to you. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they say, well, do you miss being in hospitality and tourism? I say, no, I'm still in it. I'm teaching the future leaders and help teaching them. So thanks for being here. It was really nice to have you.
Anytime. I enjoy coming here. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, recorded live at the corner of State and Jackson in downtown Chicago. This is Dr. Nicholas Thomas. Thanks for listening to The Hospitality Spirit.
Chi-Town.